Goldie Gossip Podcast. Step to the throne. Step to the throne.
Use it or lose it. Tell me jumping up in the mood, cause I lose it. But I need something with some weight, no beefsteaks. Only one to make it tight, like G-strings. But you gotta have the moves and the grooves and the swagger. Gotta have the moves like Jagger. Like Jagger, like Jagger. From the itty bitty bitty bitty, and that's a pity. Chest all jacked up.
Welcome everybody to the 76th edition of the Goldie Gossip Podcast. It's your boy Goldie Himalaya. Welcome kings and queens, ladies and gentlemen. And let's do the flip. We go here, we stop there, go up here and pop that. Drop that like it's hot. Come on, baby. There we go. And here we go. All right, folks. Welcome to the 76th edition of the Goldie Gossip Podcast. It's your boy Goldie Himalaya. And let's get right into some Goldie Gossip obituaries. As usual, we gotta do this. It's a public service. You guys need to know what's popping with the culture. And our first obituary is Matthew Perry. Yeah, Matthew Perry was best known for Fools Rush In and Numb. And Matthew Perry did tons of other stuff, but I didn't do the notes. But nevertheless, rest in peace, Matthew Perry. And next we have Richard Roundtree. Now, Richard Roundtree was Shaft, the original Shaft. Yep. That was fly. Rest in peace, Richard Roundtree. And we have Birdie Bolerman. Birdie Bolerman was best known for, she was the first and the longest running black congressional staffer in the White House. That's right. She's a credit to her race. A lot of people don't know her, but we like to say rest in peace, Birdie Bowman. Next we have DJ Mark from the 45. He was called the 45 King, and he was a hip hop producer for many years, and we like to say rest in peace, DJ Mark. Next we have Gail O'Neill. Gail O'Neill was a black model and journalist. So rest in peace to your family and to you and to all your fans, Gail O'Neill. All right. Let's switch over, folks, to some Goldie Gossip news. I want to tell you guys about my latest platform. It's Spotify for podcasters. That's right, Spotify for podcasters. I'm able to put up all my podcasts there, and it's a monetized application. So every time somebody views, I get a little bit of cheese. And that, being an independent artist, that's how I make my money, streaming. So I would encourage you guys to go over there and watch it a couple of times at least to support my podcast. All right, let's move on out of that. Give me a minute. I used to know this stuff by heart, y'all, but I don't know it by heart no more. All right, here we go. Next we have, oh yeah, I got a new segment to the show. The new segment is, I normally do Facebook shout outs, and I normally do the Pope shout outs. But this time we're gonna switch it up and we're gonna do Facebook birthday shout outs. That's right, that's a new segment I'm gonna try out, and if it works well, I will continue. Okay, first birthday, Facebook birthday, Melissa Smith. Happy birthday, baby girl. Ann Smith. Happy birthday, Ann Smith. Happy birthday, Victoria Sky. Happy birthday, baby girl. Jessica Allen Grant. Happy birthday, Jessica Allen Grant. We have Tamika Smith. We have Tanya Monique. Happy birthday to Tanya Monique. We have Heaven Bowie. Happy birthday, Heaven Bowie. We have Angela and Gina. Yeah, Gina. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but happy birthday, Angela and Gina. And we have Shelly Ann Dennis. Happy birthday, Shelly Ann Dennis. We have Vivian Smith. Happy birthday to Vivian Smith. Happy birthday to Pamela Hubbard. Happy birthday to Sherry Hall. To Crystal Neal. I don't know if she's a Neal related to me. You never know. There's a lot of Neals out there. And last but not least, we have Angeline Arkins. Happy birthday, everybody. And I will continue after this to do more birthday shout outs. Just post up your birthday. Actually, you don't even have to post up your birthday. Facebook does that for you. And as I see them, I will list them, and we will do that into the future. Now, let's get into some Goldie Gossip news, but a different. As a matter of fact, I want to speak about a subject. I want to tell you guys a story. I want to talk about my gang life, my early gang life in Detroit, and what saved me. But first, I want you guys to know I grew up in Detroit. It's Rosa Parks Boulevard now, but it used to be 12th Street. I grew up on 12th Street. I know you guys have watched the BMF stuff. I was before that. The BMF stuff didn't start until the 80s. I did my stuff in the late 60s and through the 70s. And before I talk about this subject, I'm gonna show you a clip of 12th Street. It doesn't show you how it looked when I lived there, but it does give you an idea of my surroundings and when I grew up. And we're gonna talk about that after the clip. Watch it.
Despite the racial injustice and the other issues that fueled the civil disturbance, 1967 was a kind of hopeful time in the city's history. The neighborhood around 12th and Claremont was teeming with businesses, and the nearby Motown recording studio was producing mega hits. Local writer Marsha Music and Detroit historian Jamon Jordan take us on a tour.
Here's Motown, the Hitsville house over here to our left. And this was most often my dad's route on the way to the record shop. When I didn't have to go to school, I'd have to go to the record shop and help Dad at the record shop, my little brother Daryl and I. We would get right up here to the corner, past Hitsville.
And you're right here on 12th.
And you're right here on 12th Street. That shows you just how close Motown was to the street where the unrest took place.
That's right. That's right. It's very close.
Very close.
Just as we're entering 12th Street, we can see immediately you start seeing all this green space.
Yes.
And of course, this wasn't green space.
Exactly.
In 1967.
This was very dense and teeming with businesses, commercial spaces, stores, shops, restaurants, grocery stores, all the way down as far as you can see, really.
That's right.
On both sides of the street. But one thing about this is that a reason why there is so much green space going back toward those houses on either side is because the buildings were destroyed.
That's right.
That came right up to the sidewalk.
That's right. That's right.
This empty space was where my dad's record store was.
Oh, wow.
Right here.
Right next to, right
here.
around the corner.
Right here.
Tanya Blanding's house.
It was on 12th Street between Philadelphia and Euclid.
Wow.
All right, here we are on Chicago Boulevard.
Yes, yes.
And I love driving down this street because it really gives, especially an outsider, a chance to see the grandeur in which many Detroiters lived.
That's right.
The extraordinary architecture that marked so many of the neighborhoods here. And this neighborhood here called Boston Edison is a real exemplar of areas for affluent Detroiters, but this became an area that even working class Detroiters were able to live in, particularly after the years of white flight. This was an area that was also gravely affected by the unrest and the fires, etc.
As we're driving down Linwood, we get to the field of Central High School. And so really Central High School, their field is almost like a campus. And in 1967, this would be the staging area and the camp area for the National Guard. So the National Guard was stationed right here. On the east side, at Southeastern, the Army was there. But the National Guard was stationed right here at Central High School. A house painter named Joe Nelson was driving by, and he had driven by this sculpture of Jesus many times going to work. And of course, it was always painted white. And this gate wasn't here at that time. And went in with his ladder and painted the face and the hands of Jesus black. This was his way of participating in the uprising by painting that Jesus black. And now the seminary maintains it as black to show their solidarity with the African American community. Joe Nelson was my older cousin. He was my grandmother's. He was my grandmother's nephew.
You know, history is alive, as we say.
That's right.
And often, in retrospect, we don't realize when history closes over a time, we don't realize how close some of these things really are to people.
That's right.
So that was the clip, guys. That was what 12th Street was like when I was growing up. All of those empty spaces that you saw, they were all thriving businesses. And so I'm gonna take you back. I'm gonna take you way back to the late 60s, and early 70s, growing up in Detroit. I lived on Bethune and 12th, 1961 Bethune. And I had all my partners. Now, I guess you could say we were a gang, but in reality, and I'm gonna give you that reality in a minute, we weren't a gang. We were just a bunch of brothers in the hood. We were all friends. None of us were no good, and we were hanging out. And all my boys, you know what? When you're young, you're still finding yourself, and you're hanging out with different people. It was the wrong crowd, but it was the crowd that I had to hang with in the hood. Now, I'm gonna tell you about my boys. My first buddy, rest in peace, we had Big Ricky and Little Ricky. I don't remember much about Little Ricky, but Big Ricky was Big Ricky Spicer. He had a sister named Bonnie, and his mother and father were really nice people. They lived right around the corner from me. And their family was very interesting because they were gamblers, but they gambled on the horse races professionally every day. I would go over to their crib, and their mother and their father and their sister would be sitting at the dining room table with these charts with all of the horses. I don't know what it was, but I knew that they knew what they was doing. And they would go to the racetrack every day. Let me get some water. They would go to the racetrack at least a couple of times a week and gamble these horses, and they would win more than they lose. And I used to go over to Ricky's house, and they would invite me to go to the racetrack with them. And I'm no gambler. I like to hold on to my money, but I knew that they knew what they were doing. And so we went to the racetrack, and I would always bet with Mrs. Spicer. Mrs. Spicer, she rarely lost. And I would just go there and put my money down with Mrs. Spicer. And half of the time, I would win a couple of bucks. But anyways, later on, Ricky got on heroin. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of us was chipping and dipping on the heroin. But he went to San Francisco, and he OD'd on heroin in a hotel. After that, his sister Bonnie got on drugs, and they went down, and I never knew what happened to Mr. and Mrs. Spicer. But that's what happened to my boy, Big Ricky. Then there was my buddy, Ozell Walker. He was older than me. They called him Pretty Papa. He wasn't no good, and neither was I. But I hung with Ozell every day. After I went to Cali, Ozell, he would never, ever let go of his vices. He never wanted to hold down a job. He got a good woman. She wanted to be with him, but he didn't want to be no good, so she left. And ultimately, he ended up having a seizure, smoking that crack. So my boy Ozell, and his birthday was 2 days after mine. Mine is on 14th of August, and Ozell's is on the 16th. But anyways, rest in peace, Ozell Walker. Now, there's Larry and Calvin West. They were brothers. They were cool. We were all of us hung out together. And anyways, Larry ended up being a dope dealer, and he opened up a dope den in the neighborhood, but he wasn't treating the junkies right. He was abusing them. He was taking advantage of them. And they got tired of that. And ultimately, they went into the dope house, robbed him, and killed him. After that, his brother Calvin was never the same. So rest in peace, Larry West. And Calvin, I don't know, I lost touch. I don't know whatever happened to Calvin West. But anyways, now we got, this is a character. Roy Dirty Rat McKibbins lived right across the street. They lived in a house, but we lived in like a duplex. They lived right across the street from me. And Roy used to beat me up all of the time. All of the time. Me and Roy, we would hang out sometime and he would be cool. We used to go to Arby's. I mean, I can't remember. We used to go to a restaurant and try to date these girls that was working at the counter. And we would be cool, but I figured out later as I got older what his real problem was alcoholism. Whenever he would drink, he would just go off. And for some reason, he would jump on me. And Roy ultimately ended up going to somebody's house, stealing from them, and leaving. And he left for a few months. And he made the mistake of going back. When he went back, they killed him. They killed him. So rest in peace, Dirty Rat. And oh man, I could tell you more stories about Dirty Rat, but I want to keep going with all my boys. Kenneth Smith, we call him Smitty. Now I spent a lot of legitimate time with Kenneth Smith. He lived on 12th Street between West Grand Boulevard and Bethune, right around the corner from my crib. And his mama was named Baby Dow, and his daddy was named Double D. And I was one of the few people that they would allow to come over. And me and Smitty used to hang out, man, we used to party. And I can remember the first time the Jackson 5 performed on, the Ed Sullivan Show. It was their first performance on the Ed Sullivan Show. I was at Smitty's house that night, having dinner. Me, his mama, his daddy, and him sat in the dining room and watched the Jackson 5 on Ed Sullivan. But anyways, I left for Cali, and Smitty, my boy Kenny, kept drinking that lean. I'm telling all you guys about drinking that lean. It's cough syrup. It will kill your kidneys. It will kill your liver. Especially if you drinking alcohol too and doing other drugs. It's a death sentence. But anyways, ultimately, Smitty kept drinking that cough syrup and it killed his kidneys. So he went on dialysis. He was at Henry Ford Hospital right there on Hamilton and West Grand Boulevard. Back then, they weren't testing the blood. You know, when you got dialysis, they have to change your blood a couple of times a week, depending on how bad you got it. They gave him tainted blood. It was tainted with HIV. And he ultimately ended up dying of HIV from the blood transfusions. Rest in peace, Smitty. Wayne Vassar. Now, Wayne Vassar was cool. We used to all hang out on his porch and we would party. I never figured out whatever happened to Wayne. But rest in peace, all my boys. Where my water at? Hold up. Okay, where am I at? Okay, Bobby Marshall and his brother, Roderick Marshall. Now, this is a special cat. Bobby still lives on the corner of Churchill and Bethune in Detroit. We used to hang out on his porch while he was cutting the grass. We used to shoot pool in his basement. And the few crimes that we did do, like the liquor truck would pull up in front of the liquor store and load their delivery up on a high-low and then roll it in. Soon as they rolled it in, we would run on the street side so that they couldn't see us, open up the doors and grab cases of beer and run across the street, right across the street to Bobby's house, and he would let us store it in his basement. And we would have a party on the weekend with free beer. But let me tell you something about Bobby. He is the only person I ever met and knew who was hood. I'm talking about all the way hood. Never did a crime. Never smoked a cigarette. Never drunk a beer or any alcohol. Never smoked a joint. Never did anything. And until this day, Bobby still don't party. Bobby still don't party, and he's still there. But I've been trying to connect with him on the internet. But the old school people my age, they scared of the internet. They think it's harmful or whatever, dude. They're not on any other social media. They don't mess with it. So I'm not able to connect with Bobby. But anyways, I even did a music video for him. It's called Brother Bob. If you go to Facebook, you go to Abdul Neal, you thumb down the videos to Brother Bob. I wrote that about him because he's a bad boy. But anyways, I had a buddy named LD. LD was the only dude in the hood that was light-skinned like me. But he was muscle-bound. He was real muscle-bound. He used to walk around in the wintertime without a shirt on, and it didn't bother him, and he was very athletic. My buddy LD was cool. He wasn't violent at all, but he could fight. One day, Roy, I told you about Roy McKibben's dirty rat. He came, he got drunk, he stood outside of my house, and he wanted to kick my ass. And I was scared. I didn't want to fight. And LD was over at the crib with me, and LD went outside and fought him and beat his ass for me. And I really felt bad about that. But anyways, the most fantastic thing I ever seen about LD, we were sitting on a porch right on the corner of Churchill and Bethune, but we were in the back and it's up top. We're on the second story, right in the back of Mighty Green store. He sat up on the balcony and he fell backwards. I'm talking about from 2 stories up. He fell backwards. We thought he was dead. We ran to the balcony and we looked over there, and this nigga rolled up in a ball. And when he hit the ground, he just rolled forward and stood up. Man, we was clapping like it was a performance. We said, damn, LD. He should have been dead. He should have broke his neck because he fell backwards. This nigga rolled into a ball and rolled down, hit the ground, rolled up and jumped up like Van Damme or somebody. But that was my boy, LD. He was on heroin too. We used to cop for him, and we used to steal some of his stash too. But anyways, that's another story. Now, Calvin and Jeffrey Porter, they were my neighbors right around the corner. Rest in peace, Calvin Porter. Calvin and his brother Jeffrey lived on the corner of Poe and Bethune. I lived on the corner of Woodrow Wilson and Bethune, which is only 1 block. Calvin and his brother were preachers' kids. Their father, Mr. Porter, owned a church. I used to go to that church on Thursday nights, and on Sundays. And me and Calvin was tight, but Calvin and his brother started our very first singing group. My very first singing group was a group called the Sight Tours. I don't know why we made up that name, but we were called the Sight Tours. Me, him, and Jeffrey, we did the Hutchinson at Hutchins Junior High School, came in second place. But Calvin was on them drugs. Jeffrey is still cool. I think Jeffrey is still alive and married in Detroit. But they ended up killing Calvin. Calvin was on that heroin and he was dealing in Detroit. I came to Cali. And this nigga came all the way out to Cali. And him and his woman Dodie, his girl was named Dodie, they wasn't making it. And they were at the Greyhound bus station when they got my number and they called me. Well, I was glad to see Calvin. He's my buddy from Detroit, right? I got them to my crib. I was living in a nice place on the corner of Las Palmas between DeLong Pre and Fountain, right off of the Sunset Strip. You could open up my picture window in the living room and see the Hollywood sign. I got him and Dodie at my crib. I even got the nigga a job. The only White Castle hamburger franchise in LA that I ever seen was on the corner of Hollywood Boulevard and Las Palmas, right around the corner from the crib. He got a job. I bought a twin bed and put it up in my living room so him and his woman would have a place to relax their head. He got a job now. Now check this off. This fool checks into a motel, finds somewhere to buy a stash of dope, and he's dealing dope out of the hotel. I didn't know it at the time. In addition to that, while he's working at White Castles, he would grab whole boxes of hamburger patties and buns and drop it in the trash. And then when he get ready to go home, he would grab it and he would bring it home. Now don't get me wrong, I'm grateful for the extra food. But you got a job. You don't crap where you eat. You don't steal where you eat. You don't do that. So, of course, they figured out what he was doing. He got fired from that. And the thing that broke me and him up, this dude sitting in the living room, counting all this money that, excuse me, I get the belches, hold on. He counting all this money, doing all this willing and dealing. And he ain't paying no rent. He's got room and board. He had a place to stay. He's sitting at the counter counting all this money. And all I needed was $47 to pay a telephone bill. And this fool telling me, I can't do it. I'm trying to take care of something. I said, fool, you can't give me $47 for a telephone bill and you ain't paying no rent? Get the fuck out! Get out! I told him and his woman, fuck out my house. They begged me to let them stay for a few days so they could figure out bus fare to get back home. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to put them out right then. But I didn't. I let them stay for 5 days. I said, by Friday, nigga, I want you out of my house. And that's the last time that I saw Calvin West. Later on, he ended up he was managing an apartment building. He had the keys to all the apartments. They were dealing dope in the building. The dope man was using one of his empty apartments for the stash. Calvin went over there, stole the stash, and of course the dude knew it was him. They kidnapped him, they took him down in the basement, and they beat him for 3 days. The boy's mama had to come to the house and say, let that boy go, don't kill him. And the boy's mama escorted him out the house, head swole up big as a pumpkin from being beat. Well, later on, they ended up catching him anyways. They ended up killing Calvin. And I was stupid enough, because I was from Cali. I was in town, I was glad to see him, we riding around. He a wanted man. If they would have stopped him, they would have killed him. And they would have killed me too. That's the last time I seen Calvin. His brother Jeff is doing good in Detroit. But anyways, those are all my partners. We all hung together, all of these cats that I told you about. But we wasn't organized. We was just dudes in the neighborhood getting high and getting into mischief together. And the act that made me realize that we wasn't a gang, my boys went to school and they got into it with a real gang. We were called the 12th Street Disciples. The real Detroit disciples heard about it and they came looking for us. I kid you not, they was looking for us. They went up to school, they looked for anybody who was a 12th Street disciple. All my boys, they were posted up at the crib because listen to me, we didn't have no weapons. We didn't have no guns, we never shot nobody. Occasionally they went out and snatched purses and stuff like that. But I didn't go with them. When they went out to do some dirt, I said, not me. I ain't going, I'm going to the crib. He said, oh, you punk ass nigga, you ain't nothing. I said, yeah, I may be a coward, but the very next day, they called me and they said, all of them in jail. Except for me, because I didn't go. And if I would have went, I would have went to jail too. But after that, the real disciples came walking through our neighborhood. I remember looking out of my curtain and seeing dudes in cars, on bicycles, and on foot. And they was looking for any disciple that they could find. I realized then, we ain't no gang. I ain't no gangster. And the only thing that saved me was music. Throughout my whole life, every time I was in trouble, the only thing that saved me was music. When people died that I loved and I thought I couldn't take it no more, it was music. Whenever I was going down the wrong road, doing drugs or whatever, and I wanted to get away, it was music. Every situation throughout my whole life, the only thing that ever came through for me was music. Not no people. My music career was always contingent upon a group stand together or an organization stand together. And they all let me down. All of them let me down. I had to figure out how to do this all by myself. And thank God for music. It drugged me through my mother's death, my sister's death, my other sister's death, my best woman of my life's death. Every time, if it wasn't for music, I wouldn't have made it, guys. So that's the story of my gang life and the thing that saved me, which was my music life. Let's go to Himalaya, y'all. Thank you for hanging out with me this time. I'm gonna close it out with another Goldie Himalaya video. Peace. See you next show.
Oh yeah. Come around the holidays, I gotta fly back down to the D-town, see my sister Fran and my nephew Ernest, cousin Jeff, Willa May, eat some of that good food around the way. Oh yeah. First thing I do when I touch down in the hood, gotta go and see my brother Bob. And it's good, it's holding down the hood and holding down a damn good job. Two friends in the den, pull out the old school records and play them all day. We listen to some Temps, some David Ruffin, some Earth, Wind and Fire, and some Marvin Gaye. Just one block down from Motown, the original Hitsville, USA. In the old hood, and it's all good. Gotta go back to where we stay. We like to laugh and talk about our past, eating crackers and salami while Bobby cut the grass. We get along, cause he in class. Back in the day, we were super fantastic. Don't trip, I'm back, it's all good. I'm always coming back to the hood. Representing for my 3-1. Goldie Himalaya, Goldie Himalaya. And my people in the motor city. Goldie Himalaya, Goldie Himalaya. Yeah, you know who I am. Goldie Himalaya, Goldie Himalaya. Yeah, you know what I do. You know where I'm from. We want it. Now you know, gotta go see Marshall. Things we agree on, partial. Or when we argue, it's never violent. We just puff through the awkward silence. Come nightfall, get in the gym playing. Hold your deuces up and keep your cups swaying. On the dance floor, I don't be playing. No, I don't dirty, I be Goldie Himalayan. From the days of tailor-made, now my boy Marshall getting paid. Gotta regroup, we can. Gotta stick to the plan. Gotta go pick up, stand the man. That's all stage stand. Are you in good hands? At the end of the night, he's bored. But at the end of the night, I scored. I told him, Marshall, you ain't getting any. Cause you're not thinking with your lipstick, Jimmy. Representing for my 3-1 brand. Goldie Himalaya, Goldie Himalaya. And my people in the motor city. Goldie Himalaya, Goldie Himalaya. Yeah, you know who I am. Goldie Himalaya, Goldie Himalaya. Yeah, you know what I do. You know where I'm from. We want it. Cruising down West Grand in a lap. Hood's rats looking, we ain't looking back. Gotta roll up, wood, pick me up a sack. Got my heat, so I keep my car from getting jacked. Rolling on 24s, play my latest track. Butterfly doors, no keys, hydraulic jack. And when the night falls, we keep styling, headed for the strip. We trip, bell loud, hip hop kicked way after dark. Till the po-pos tell us to leave the park. So where the party at? Yeah, we know. Headed downtown, Greektown Casino. To see my boy Quentin perform. And we rockin' to the ladies till way after dawn. And from the days of tailor-made, the future's so bright, gotta wear shades. Don't trip, I'm back, it's all good. I'm always coming back to the hood. Representing for my 3-1 plan. Goldie Himalaya, Goldie Himalaya. And my people in the motor city. Goldie Himalaya, Goldie Himalaya.
know who I am. Goldie Himalaya, Goldie Himalaya. Yeah, you know what I do. You know where I'm from. Representing for my free one. Goldie Himalaya, Goldie Himalaya. And my people in the motor city. Goldie Himalaya, Goldie Himalaya. Yeah, you know who I am. Goldie Himalaya, Goldie Himalaya. Yeah, you know what I do.